We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Behave yourselves.
But here, we'll be talking about the latest on a differing perspective about what to do about Iran. Over the weekend here, we heard time and time again that the clock is ticking. That's according to many leaders, both here in the United States and in Israel, as well as much of the mainstream media here, that something must be done soon about Iran's alleged nuclear program. Iran was the central topic at this year's American-Israel Public Affairs Committee conference. AIPAC hosted many high-profile speakers, including President Obama. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will speak at AIPAC tonight. But earlier today, the two leaders met to continue the discussion. A few would argue against the notion that President Obama is kind of walking a fine line here, both trying to make it clear that a war with Iran is nobody's first choice, but that Iran is a dangerous place and needs to be kept at bay. Here's a little bit about what he said during that meeting today.
We do not want to see a nuclear arms race in one of the most volatile regions in the world. We do not want the possibility of a nuclear weapon falling into the hands of terrorists, and we do not want a regime that has been a state sponsor of terrorism being able to feel that it can act even more aggressively or with impunity as a consequence of its nuclear power.
Well, President Obama has been criticized by many conservative leaders here in the U.S. as well as in Israel for not being tough enough on Iran. But today he seemed to be trying to make it clear that no matter what happens, the two countries are in this together. Here's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Americans know that Israel and the United States share common values, that we defend common interests, that we face common enemies. Iran's leaders know that too. You know, for them, you're the great Satan, we're the little Satan. For them, we are you and you are us.
So we want to talk more about the rhetoric and the reality today. And to help me do that, I'm joined by Max Blumenthal, a writing fellow with the Nation Institute. Max, let's kind of break this down. There have been many instances since President Obama came into office that people would say, you know, Israel says jump and the U.S. says how high. That's the perspective of some. Other people say, you know, President Obama is, you know, not trying to do everything that he's being told by Israel. What's going on here? I mean, do you think that Israel does, in fact, drive the U.S. foreign policy?
With respect to Iran, it's driving it right now, but it's not driving it to as far as it wants to. It's not able to move the red lines to where it wants to go. We heard Benjamin Netanyahu tell Barack Obama, you're you and you're us. I mean, it's a bizarre statement, but it means we're basically, our interests are the same. That is not true with respect to Iran. Iran poses no threat to the United States militarily, and the Obama administration is acting on assessments from the CIA, from the military intelligence apparatus, that tell him that a war with Iran would be disastrous. Israel is seeking to use the U.S. as its proxy to attack Iran through AIPAC. And what AIPAC is doing in Congress right now is it's given Congress an ask, meaning they're asking Congress to authorize a resolution declaring that the red lines should move, meaning that the U.S. will go to war if Iran crosses these red lines, and the red lines will be that Iran has nuclear capacity and not a nuclear weapon. And Obama has said Iran has to get a nuclear weapon before we decide to act militarily. So they're not, the U.S. is not them, and they are not us.
There seems to be, that is an important distinction to make between the two countries and their interests, and what they've said sort of that line is. We do hear a lot, of course, from you know, leaders in Israel. We hear a lot from AIPAC and some of the voices that they sort of put out into the public to make their case. We don't often hear from Iran, so I think it's important to put this up. I know a little more than a week ago, Iran's supreme leader.
What I have discovered is the banks and the government have colluded to financially enslave the people of Canada. When a bank gives you a mortgage, which literally means a death pledge or a loan, they don't actually give you money. They click a key on a computer and generate the fake money out of thin air. It has become painfully obvious, even for me, a 12-year-old Canadian, that we are being defrauded and robbed by the banking system and a complicit government. What will we do to stop this crime?
Well, we've got internet sensation Victoria Grant and her mother, Marcia Grant, on the line from Canada right now. So, Victoria, I watched all of your speeches, quite long, so can you just very briefly tell us what's been bothering you about Canada's banking system?
And thank you for feeding the Bush family.